Good morning and welcome to another Perspective Clinic here in partnership with MTN Tiger Valley and the Founders Hub. We are on the next episode, and today we have in studio Kennethea Williams, the queen of networking in the Western Cape. She's an entrepreneur. Wow. She's an entrepreneur. She's an author. She's a mom. She's a wife. She's an inspiration. She's helped thousands of businesses with all sorts of challenges that they've faced, particularly around networking. Now, networking is one of those things where you are either born to do it or you must learn to be good. But you never have an excuse in saying that networking is not for me. If you're part of an organization that she's founded many years ago called the Business Breakfast Club, you will learn how to network. You will learn how to be voorbarig, as she says. And so she will share a little bit about us with regard to networking today. We'll be interviewing her. We'll try to extrapolate as much information as we can so that we can learn how to be a better networker. Kenny, welcome to the show.
It's good to be here.
Thank you.
Good to be here, Lester.
So what does networking mean to you, and how has it impacted your career and your journey thus far?
Oh my gosh. I think networking has been the single force behind building a good database, getting clientele and sustaining that clientele. I found out quite early when I started out BBC that this cannot be a job where I'm on an island. The vision and the dream is not going to fulfill and happen by itself. I need people with context that has their context to fulfill the mission statement of the business. So networking has played a vital role in building the brand.
Fantastic. So who was your first person that you've networked with all those years ago that kind of led you to this networking behemoth that you are today?
Oh my gosh. I think back to my childhood, because I think that I was always a good networker. Being the eldest of five, I had to be a natural negotiator to keep the peace in the house. But I find that my very first exercise as an entrepreneur, literally I wrote about it in the book, was the Bumpy story.
Oh, wow.
And I knew that outside of the road, we needed something, we lacked something. Our shop did not have what the other side, the shop down the road had. And I think the person that owned the spaza shop was a good person that could access things that I needed. And I found out quite at an early age that if I don't have the access to resources and opportunities, I need to make friends with the people that's got access and resources. I think somebody that was a good hustler, was the owner of an informal business, had a wealth of resources. Because I made good friends with him, it actually started, the funds of that Bumpy business allowed me to have a jewelry business.
Oh, wow.
And I've been an entrepreneur since a young teenager, but it all started with that informal trader that had so many contacts that just catapulted everything else.
I think we need to go to the Bumpy company and ask for an endorsement.
Absolutely. And also, Lisa, it showed me that sometimes we think that with networking, somebody's got to be in a suit and somebody's got to look a certain part.
Yeah.
But we should never underestimate what people look from how they look from the outside.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
There's an old saying that goes that men that wear suits work for men that wear shorts.
Oh, I like that.
So I'm not sure how accurate that is, but I don't have my shorts here today, so it must mean that I'm on the other side of the...
You got a hoodie, so you might...
Well, yeah.
You know.
Can you share one specific networking opportunity that catapulted you into a whole new level in business?
Oh, I think it was in the beginning of the BBC journey. It was actually looking at the needs of the entrepreneurs in the organization. And I think making friends with a specific banker, we won't go into specific who the bank was, but that one person was able to come into our network and allow people to open up accounts, speak about credit readiness, and bring so much value into BBC. And today we still, 6 years later, we still maintain that relationship with that organization. So I think in networking, what identifying the opportunities and the resources that brings value to our brand.
Yes, absolutely. I think value is the key component because networking platforms are a dime a dozen at the moment, but the very few of them offer the value that the members need, that the people that are looking at getting things out of it need. Because in my opinion, to be a good networker, you need to give more than you take. When people come to networking events, they're always looking to see what they can take. So I think you've set a good benchmark in terms of getting an understanding of what networking is truly about from a value perspective.
That's it.
What are the biggest mistakes other than not offering value people make when they're trying to network?
I think over the years, what I've experienced is, and I think people make this following mistake, not because they are being intentional about it. I think I always use the phrase, if you know better, you do better. So I think when people network with each other, the one mistake that is often made all the time, and within 10 seconds, you've lost the interest of the other person because you're trying to sell the product, you're trying to sell yourself and your services instead of explaining to them why you're the panada for their headache.
Yeah.
And I think that when you start off by selling, the other person is already thinking, how can I move on to the next person? Because maybe what they're offering, you don't need at that particular time.
Absolutely.
And I think when people are networking, we should rather be interested. I think people are more interested in the business transaction, and I think networking is more about exchanging of the business cards, but you should focus more on the connection than the transaction.
Absolutely. You know, I can actually share an example in my side. I met someone who was a financial planner a few years ago, and you know, he was never one to push the product down. We always knew who we worked for, but he was never always the one that introduces himself. I'm X and I work for X and I can offer you Y. He's always the guy that put phone and say, listen, are you okay? Is there anything I can do for you? There's this event that's taking place. Your business could benefit from that quite a bit. Or here's this opportunity that you could potentially benefit from. And only about 2 years later, I ended up buying from him. So, and he made it very clear. My intention was never to sell to you. It was to build that relationship. If we do a deal later down the line, fantastic. But that is not the primary reason for us. So that also ties into my next question. How do you build authentic relationships instead of just trying to collect contacts?
Yeah. I think what most people think is when you go to a networking event, even as an event like this today, people think that it's just about the introduction, exchange business cards, and then you go our separate ways and the one will wait on the other to make a connection. I think what people underestimate is that networking it's a long run. It's a long game. And sometimes you will find that you are going to connect or need someone's services down the line. And I always tell people, when you are networking, don't network for the current state of your business now. You should be networking for the future, your future self. So currently you might not have the funds or the position where you need a website. You network with someone that is a website developer, and immediately, naturally, what we do, we brush that contact off and we think, this is not a good time to connect with this person. But think about if you are an entrepreneur, being a visionary should be naturally part of it. You should be thinking, where do I want my business in 1 year's time or in 2 years' time? And perhaps having a website 2 years down the line is part of the vision. So now is the right time to build up your resources. I always say that if you are connecting with someone that does not bring value right now or immediate to your business, keep them in your networking kitty and keep the connection, because that is how we build long-term relationships.
Absolutely. And you can always refer their business to other people that might be in the network that might be in need of something like that as well.
Absolutely.
And you then become that go-to person that facilitates.
You become the dot connector.
Absolutely.
Like that.
Now, Kenny, I'm more of an extroverted person, so networking comes a little more naturally to me and a little more naturally to you. But there are people that are a little more introverted that feel they don't want to kind of press the presence in the room, so they feel a little retracted. How can you help them, open up and connect with people, because they might be leaving money on the table?
I don't know where you got this rumor from that I'm an extrovert. I'm actually naturally a very introvert. At home, I'm quite on mute.
Okay.
I always used to kid at our BBC events, and I would always encourage the introverts to make friends with other introverts and then gang up against the extroverts. So it's always been, some people actually use that tool and it has helped. You'll see them sort of tag team each other and slowly approach the more louder extroverted audience. But I think at BBC, we recognize that not everybody are natural networkers. And even if they have the courage to go up to a stranger, they make the boo-boo in the conversation. They think they have to overload and and give them 5 paragraphs in 60 seconds.
Yeah.
So at BBC, we've identified that everybody is not that voorbarig, not
Yes.
naturally. It takes a bit of time. So we've implemented activities and games like the speed networking, the business bingo. It feels like a game, and at BBC, we never want things to feel like a special networking. But I think introverts are starting to show up more and more, and they're starting to activate that hashtag be voorbarig process. But I think it's about time that the introverts also realize that their brand depends on them speaking up for themselves.
I think the introverts also has this kind of silent, lethal weapon that extroverts don't have. They can listen a bit better. Because, as an extrovert, you're always just blah, blah. You're always just speaking over the next person and wanting to talk about yourself. So we have that natural inclination to do that. And in doing that, we don't become very good listeners. Because introverts, you have a conversation with them, and 2028 comes. Do you remember the conversation we had? No, I spoke to 15 other people within that minute,
Absolutely.
So, they tend to listen a lot more, and they speak a lot less, and they speak to a lot less people. So the quality of the conversation is a little deeper.
Absolutely. And I find that often after our events, I find that my WhatsApp is so flooded because people are trying to connect with people, not just that they missed at the event, but it's actually people that they spoke to and they just didn't take their contact details or they weren't listening.
Yeah.
And so I have to go find the lady with a bola quite often.
Got you. So what qualities make someone memorable in a networking event, or what makes them stand out?
I think in networking, in my personal experience, I've networked with thousands of people, but I remember the ones that it's not them giving me a hearing, it's how they made me feel in that moment. They asked me questions about my brand, and I found that when I network, when I engage with people, when I give someone the opportunity to just speak for 2-3 minutes and I just absolutely remain silent and I listen, me categorizing and just remembering everything that you're saying, me complimenting them, me giving them just like a word, just some encouragement, and also remembering that it's taken a lot for them to get where they at. And especially if people say, it's taken blood, sweat, and tears. My business is 5 years old. I've lost so much, but I'm still here. Just for me to say, well, you know what? Stay encouraged. You are doing absolutely great. Today, I'm still in contact with people, not because I have anything of value to offer them, but it's how I made them feel. And I think for entrepreneurs, there's that human element. There's still a human touch. And I think we need to get out of the headspace that I need to accumulate as much information as possible and focus on the quality of the conversations and the quality of care, because that's what's going to make people refer you when you're not even in the room.
Absolutely. I always thought that at some of the events that I've been to, you wore pink. So I thought that might be something that makes you stand out and memorable. The pink lady that was hosting that networking event. Because pink is one of those big, bright colors that not everybody wears every day. But I see it's a big part of your brand identity.
Yes. Absolutely.
What role does social media play in modern networking today?
I think for many people, the networking aspect, if you're on LinkedIn, I think you can make maybe networking connections there. I think the social media has a great place in networking, connecting with people online. I think it's a bit of a more of a cold version. I think at BBC, we rely on the face-to-face engagement, but social media complements what we are doing already out there. I think in terms of when we are networking, I always say that within the first 20 seconds, you are going to determine whether someone is a cold lead or a hot lead. And a hot lead is you're gonna have that aha moment where you're thinking, where is this person been all my life? And if somebody is a cold lead, the best way you can support them is on social media. So even though you financially can't support somebody or vice versa, I think social media and just sharing information and commenting still plays a vital role in your networking journey.
Absolutely awesome. And these are also tools that we can use to further enhance, the colder relationships and eventually warm them up. If it's someone that you want to do business with, but you might not be ready to offer them the kind of value that they need at that given moment, which kind of comes back to the first point that you made. You're not networking for your business right now.
Yes.
You could be planting the seed for a potentially bigger deal later down the line because you've built that relationship.
Absolutely.
And you've earned that trust over the time period. What are some of the top networking tips for someone that is looking to grow their network base?
I will always start with my favorite one: don't sell, solve. Always look at, and I think being an incredible listener will give you the opportunity to identify people's needs. And even if you are not able to meet that need, you will know somebody. And I think, which leads us to our next step as well, is that always try to offer amazing service so that you are a good referral.
Yes.
Our next step would be, don't refer bad referrals if you've had a bad experience. In networking, it's a very sensitive game, and if you're going to pass on bad referrals, somebody that has given you a bad service might give your friend or your colleague a similar, not a good experience. And eventually you could possibly burn your own bridges simply because and that has happened in many cases, as you know, Lester. And I think that people should just constantly be able to just be voorbarig enough to put yourself out there. I think when you make the effort of going to events, showing up, you might as well have a networking goal. Even for a small event like today, don't leave you without at least 3 contacts.
Yeah.
You're sitting across the room from somebody that looks quite interesting. You might have identified the introvert. Go up to them and introduce your brand. You just never know. And I think that's the beautiful surprise about networking, is that you just never know where that conversation could lead to.
Can I be voorbarig and add one tip to that as well?
Go for it.
Have some good coffee there as well. Like we have here at the MTN store at Tiger Valley Center.
Yeah, and for some decaf, right?
It's debatable, Yeah, absolutely decaf to get everybody's preferences. So, Kenny, we are networking for the first time. Within 30 seconds, what can I do to kind of get on your radar? What can I do to kind of make you, to mesmerize you, to make you fall in love with my business?
If you had limited time to introduce yourself to me, I would say do not spend any time on selling me a product.
Yeah.
I would say, tell me your story. Tell me your story, share your journey with me, because that's going to allow me to connect to Lester the person instead of Lester the entrepreneur.
Yes.
And I always believe that people support people before they support brands. And sometimes we are inclined to do business with people with certain values and a certain personality. If I look at some of the individuals here, they might have competitors that's also in our club, but because we've shared a cup of coffee, I got to know their background story, I got to know their journey, their sacrifices, that swings my vote in your direction. So when you have the time, share your story, let them know just a little bit more about how you got to where you got, and that'll be more memorable than trying to sell your price list to me.
Yeah, 100%. That's a really good tip. And I think the last question we'd have is, what is the big difference in your experience between people that network with intention versus people that are just looking at building up the numbers?
You're going to find that if you are networking without intention, you are going to accumulate quite a lot of business cards. It's going to be a little box on your dresser somewhere, but you're going to find that the amount of contacts on your phone and the amount of cards you've collected is not going to match genuine, authentic relationships.
Yeah.
And be invested in people. I think networking is all about the connections. I can't emphasize that enough. It's really about an energy exchange. It's about 2 people giving themselves the opportunity to trust. And I think in life, we're also busy with our own hustle. We're in our own bubbles. But networking is that thing where you have to converse and exchange your ideas. So let's continue to be voorbarig and hustle on.
Awesome. Just one last question, and I know that was the last question, but one of those guys that always have that last question. Because
I
as
think
you're
so.
saying something's triggering. Networking is not just for you or for the other person, but there's a collective benefit to the community as well. How has networking benefited a bigger community and brought together a community?
Absolutely. When we speak about networking, we assume that we are talking entrepreneur to entrepreneur, but especially in our organization, we've got NPO founders, we've got just different organizations. And I think when we are networking, you just never know. I think for BBC, we are so proud that we've created an ecosystem. It's not just about business. We are in the communities. We are helping NPOs. We've got our kids club. And somebody might think, well, I'm an accountant. What am I going to do with the kids club? You could teach, you could get involved in the communities and teach kids just basic practical skills, get involved in the career days. So I think as an entrepreneur, it's not just about plugging everyone with our services, but how can we add value to our ecosystem currently?
Kenny Williams, thank you so much for joining us here at the Founders Hub at MTN Tiger Valley today. Thank you to all the guests that came. Thank you to all of the listeners that are tuned in right now. And we'll be back next week, same time, same place. Till then, goodbye. God bless.